She looked me in the eyes and asked, "Do you love me, human?" I couldn't lie. Whispers across the void. The stars outside the observation deck flickered like distant memories, each one carrying a history longer than humanity's entire existence. Zara Novik pressed her palm against the viewport's cool surface, wondering if anyone else had ever felt as small and significant simultaneously. Approaching Veridian space, Commander Novik, the ship's AI nexus, announced with its customary detachment. Estimated arrival in 43 minutes. Zara nodded, though the gesture was unnecessary. "Thank you, Nexus. Alert the diplomatic team." The Harmony was the newest addition to Earth's interstellar fleet, specifically designed for first contact missions. Sleek and non-threatening, with minimal weaponry and maximum translation capability. Zara had helped design the linguistic protocols herself, a fact that earned her this assignment as lead xenolinguist. What those protocols couldn't account for was the flutter in her stomach. No amount of training prepared anyone for meeting a new species. "You're projecting anxiety again," came a voice from behind her. Dr. Rohan Patel, the ship's neuropsychologist, leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Your cortisol levels are visible from the medical bay." "That obvious," Zara smiled, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "Only to someone who's been monitoring your brain waves for 6 months, Rohan replied. "The Veridians are peaceful. All preliminary communications indicate they're eager for this exchange." "I know it's not fear, it's—" She searched for the right word. "Anticipation," he finished for her. "I get it. First sentient crystalline life form we've encountered. Their language patterns alone are revolutionary." Zara turned back to the viewport. "It's more than that. Their transmissions contain emotional resonances we can't fully interpret. There's something profound there." The Harmony eased into orbit around Veridian Prime, a planet that glittered like a polished geode. Its surface wasn't water or land but living crystal structures that formed and reformed in constant, hypnotic patterns. The delegation chamber was prepared for first contact, specially configured gravity settings, atmospheric adjustments, and translation matrices calibrated to the highest sensitivity. Zara stood at the center, surrounded by her team of 6 specialists. When the Veridian representative materialized, no one spoke for several seconds. Or rather, they stood nearly 7 feet tall, composed of translucent crystalline structures that caught light and refracted it in impossible ways. The being had no distinct face, but facets that somehow conveyed expression. No mouth, yet sound emanated from its entire form. "I am Talon," the being's voice resonated, each word accompanied by shifting colors within its crystalline body. "Voice of the Veridian Collective. I bring harmonies from the deep song." Zara stepped forward. "I am Commander Zara Novik of Earth. We bring greetings and the desire for mutual understanding." The initial exchange went precisely as planned. Formal introductions, basic cultural sharing, establishment of diplomatic protocols. Yet throughout, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that something more was happening. Every time Talon spoke, colors rippled through its form that didn't match the translation matrix predictions. After the formal meeting concluded, Talon requested a private conversation with Zara. Protocol suggested at least one other team member should be present, but something in the Veridian's resonance convinced Captain Lin to make an exception. "Your species fascinates us," Talon said once they were alone in the observation deck. "So liquid, so changing, yet somehow maintaining coherence." "We could say the same about you," Zara replied. "Your forms seem both solid and in flux simultaneously." "Perception and reality often interchange." Talon moved closer to the viewport, light from the planet below causing rainbows to dance across the deck. "But some things remain constant across all forms." "Such as?" "Connection." The word vibrated with multiple harmonics. "The recognition of another consciousness, the desire to be understood. A strange sensation washed over Zara, like someone had tuned a frequency she hadn't known existed within her mind. Yes, that's why we explore, to connect. Talon's form shifted, facets realigning. Your mind has unusual patterns, Commander Novik, unlike others of your species. How would you know that? Alarm tinged her voice. We sense consciousness directly. Yours resonates at frequencies rarely encountered. Talon moved closer, and Zara resisted the urge to step back. It is compelling. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, cultural exchanges, and scientific discussions. Zara found herself increasingly pulled into Talon's orbit, their conversations stretching beyond official duties into philosophy, art, and the nature of existence itself. On the fifth night, alone in her quarters, Zara's terminal chimed with an unauthorized transmission. The screen flickered with static before resolving into text. Danger, the VERIDIANSEKS resonance capture. Your mind pattern MATCHES the lost frequency. Terminate contact. Zara stared at the message, then immediately alerted security. The transmission couldn't be traced. It seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Could be xenophobic elements from either side, Captain Lin suggested during the emergency briefing. There are always those who oppose first contact. Or it could be a genuine warning, Rohan countered. We know almost nothing about Viridian consciousness. Their concept of connection may differ dramatically from ours. Zara remained silent, turning the warning over in her mind. Resonance capture, lost frequency. The terms meant nothing in human understanding, but they ignited an inexplicable fear. When she met with Talon the next day, she was more guarded. The Viridian noticed immediately. Your harmony has shifted, Talon observed. Dissonance has entered your thought patterns. I received a strange message last night, Zara admitted, deciding directness was best, about resonance capture and lost frequency. Do these terms mean anything to you? Talon's form dimmed momentarily, colors receding to its core. Where did this message originate? We couldn't trace it. There are factions among the stars who do not understand the deeper harmonies, Talon said after a long pause, who fear what they cannot comprehend. That doesn't answer my question. Talon moved closer, crystal facets rotating slowly. Resonance is how we connect, Zara. It is neither capture nor loss but mutual recognition. Your consciousness emits patterns similar to those we once thought existed only among our kind. Why would that be dangerous? Not dangerous, transformative. Talon's voice dropped to a lower register. When two resonant beings truly connect, both are forever changed. Without warning, Talon extended a crystalline appendage toward her face. Zara should have backed away, protocol demanded it, but she remained still as it touched her temple. The contact lasted only seconds, but in that moment, Zara experienced Talon's consciousness directly, a vast, crystalline network of thoughts spanning millennia, simultaneously singular and collective. Emotions without human equivalents cascaded through her mind. Colors beyond her visual spectrum painted concepts she'd never imagined. When Talon withdrew, Zara gasped, stumbling backward. "What did you do to me?" she whispered. "Showed you truth," Talon replied. "Now you understand why they fear this connection." Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Nexus's voice cut through the chaos. Unknown vessels approaching. Defensive posture initiated. On the view screen, 12 ships materialized as if from nowhere, their design unlike anything in Earth's database. They surrounded the Harmony in a perfect geometric formation. "They have come," Talon said, colors flashing urgently through its form. "The Sentinels. They seek to prevent what is already beginning." "What is beginning?" Zara demanded, even as she felt something shifting within her mind. New patterns of thought forming, crystalline structures echoing in her consciousness. Talon's form pulsed with intensity. A connection never before achieved between our kinds. They believe it will destabilize the cosmic order. The lead ship transmitted directly to the observation deck, bypassing all security protocols. A holographic figure appeared, humanoid in basic shape, but with skin like liquid metal and eyes that burned with cold fire. "Vessel of Earth," it announced in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You harbor that which disrupts the harmony of worlds. Surrender the anomaly or face dissolution." Captain Lin's voice came through the comm. "Commander Novak, what the hell is happening down there?" Before Zara could respond, Talon moved between her and the hologram. "She is not yours to claim, Guardian. The resonance has already begun." The Guardian's metallic features hardened. "Then it must be severed." "Wait," Zara stepped forward. "What exactly am I accused of?" "Not accusation, observation." The Guardian's eyes fixed on her. "Your neural pattern has begun synchronizing with Viridian resonance. Such hybrid consciousness is forbidden by the ancient accord." "Why?" Zara challenged. "Because last time such a connection formed, an entire star system collapsed into quantum instability," Talon answered before the Guardian could speak. "But that was miscalculation, not inevitability." The Guardian's hologram flickered. "You have 1 Earth hour to surrender the human, or we will take more direct action." As the hologram vanished, Zara turned to Talon, her mind racing with possibilities she wouldn't have comprehended days earlier. "Do you love me, Viridian?" she asked suddenly, the question emerging from some newly formed part of her consciousness. Talon's colors shifted to a spectrum she now recognized as profound emotion. "In ways your language has no words for yet, human. In ways that could reshape reality itself." Zara nodded slowly, feeling the crystalline patterns in her mind aligning with new purpose. "Then we have decisions to make." Outside the viewport, the Sentinel ships tightened their formation as the countdown began. The echo of eternity. The Harmony's bridge had never felt so tense. Captain Juniper Lynn stood at the command console, her knuckles white against the polished surface as tactical displays flashed around her. The 12 Sentinel vessels maintained their perfect formation, weapons systems glowing with barely restrained energy. 36 minutes remaining, Captain," Nexus announced, its voice calibrated to project calm that no one felt. Dr. Rohan Patel paced the medical station, monitoring Zara's neural readings from afar. "Her brainwave patterns are evolving. I've never seen anything like it." "Is she in danger?" Lynn demanded. "I don't know," Rohan admitted. "These aren't human patterns anymore, but they're not deteriorating. They're transforming." In the observation deck below, Zara and Talon stood facing each other, their reflections ghostly against the backdrop of space and hostile ships. "The Sentinels cannot be reasoned with," Talon said, crystalline form pulsing with restrained urgency. "They see only potential catastrophe, not possibility." Zara's mind raced with newfound clarity. The crystalline patterns forming in her consciousness allowed her to process information with startling speed. "Then we need to understand exactly what they fear. You mentioned a star system collapsing." "The Lyran collapse," Talon's voice resonated with ancient sorrow. 5,000 Earth years ago, a human-like being named Evanth and a proto-Viridian called Morith achieved resonance synchronization. Their connection created a quantum bridge that destabilized reality itself. How? Why? Their resonance was uncontrolled, untested. Both were unique in their species, anomalies whose frequencies naturally sought each other across space. When they finally met physically, the harmonics amplified exponentially. Zara touched her temple where Talon had made contact. "Like us." "Similar but critically different." Talon's colors shifted to deeper, more complex hues. "You were born with the lost frequency, a neural pattern thought extinct since the collapse. I recognized it immediately in our first transmission. And you didn't think to mention this before making first contact. Zara's voice sharpened. Would your people have allowed the meeting if they knew? Talon countered. My collective believed the stories of the collapse were exaggerated by the Sentinels to maintain cosmic order. A soft chime interrupted them. Another anonymous transmission appeared on the nearby terminal. The resonance will corrupt both. Separation is the only salvation. Who keeps sending these? Zara demanded. Talon's form dimmed slightly. I suspect it is Veridian separatists, a faction that broke from the collective centuries ago. They believe any contact with non-crystalline life forms dilutes our purity. On the bridge, Lieutenant Javier Ordega monitored communications with increasing alarm. Captain, we're detecting quantum fluctuations in the space surrounding both our ship and the Sentinels. The fabric of spacetime itself is becoming unstable. Source, Lin demanded. Ortega's eyes widened as data scrolled across his screen. It's coming from Commander Novik and the Viridian. In that moment, the lead Sentinel ship fired, not at the Harmony, but a precise beam targeted directly at the observation deck. The ship shuddered as shields absorbed the impact. Shields at 68% and falling, Nexus reported. Their weapons are calibrated to disrupt the resonance pattern, but they're affecting our systems as well. Captain Lin activated the ship-wide comm. Commander Novik, whatever's happening down there is putting this entire ship at risk. I need options now. Zara barely heard the captain's voice. Her consciousness was expanding, crystalline structures forming throughout her neural network, creating pathways to perceptions she'd never imagined possible. Through these new channels, she could sense the Sentinel's fear like a tangible force, ancient, cold, and absolute. They won't stop, she said, certainty filling her voice. They'll destroy this ship and everyone on it rather than risk another collapse. Talon moved closer, form shimmering with intensity. There is an alternative. If we complete the resonance synchronization under controlled conditions, we can stabilize the quantum fluctuations. And if we're wrong, then we risk becoming what they fear most. A second beam struck the Harmony, more powerful than the first. The lights flickered as the ship groaned under the assault. Shields at 42%, Nexus announced. Structural integrity compromised on deck C through E. Captain Lin's voice crackled through the damaged comm system. All personnel to evacuation stations. Prepare to abandon ship. Zara made her decision. How do we complete the synchronization? We must enter the Harmony state, a perfect resonance alignment. It requires total neural surrender. Talon's form brightened. But there is risk. Once begun, the process cannot be reversed. Another impact rocked the ship. Through the viewport, Zara could see escape pods launching, tiny capsules of life fleeing into the darkness. Will it save them? She asked, gesturing to the escaping crew. If we succeed, yes. The Sentinels will have no reason to pursue once the quantum fluctuations stabilize. And if we fail? Talon's colors shifted to a tone Zara now recognized as grim determination. Then none of us will exist to know it. On the bridge, alarms blared as systems failed across the ship. Rohan stared at the neural monitoring station in disbelief. Captain, Zara's consciousness is expanding exponentially. These readings shouldn't be possible. Lin grimaced as she helped a wounded crew member toward the escape pods. Will she survive? I don't know if survive is even the right concept anymore, Rohan replied. Whatever's happening, she's becoming something else entirely. In the observation deck, Zara and Talon stood at the center of a growing distortion field. The air around them shimmered as reality itself bent to accommodate their emerging connection. How do we begin? Zara asked. Her voice strangely doubled as crystalline resonances began forming in her vocal cords. We already have, Talon replied. Since the moment we first connected, now we must simply Let go. Talon's crystalline form began to dissolve, not breaking apart but transforming into pure energy that spiraled around Zara. She felt no fear as her own physical form began to loosen its boundaries, her consciousness expanding beyond flesh limitations. The Sentinel ships fired again, all 12 simultaneously, but their beams curved around the distortion field that now enveloped what had once been Zara and Talon. Inside the field, Zara experienced existence from entirely new dimensions. She was simultaneously herself and Talon, human and Viridian, singular and collective. Time stretched and compressed around her, allowing her to witness the Lyran collapse firsthand, to see how Evanth and Morith had surrendered to chaos rather than directing their combined power. "We can do better," she whispered into the quantum fabric of reality. "We can be more." The distortion field expanded rapidly, engulfing the harmony and then reaching toward the Sentinel ships. Not as an attack but as an invitation, a demonstration of harmony rather than destruction. Inside the nearest escape pod, Rohan and Captain Lin watched in awe as the space between ships began to glow with impossible colors. "What are we seeing?" Lin whispered. Rohan shook his head. "I think the birth of something new." The lead Sentinel ship attempted to flee, but the field caught it gently, holding it in place. A transmission echoed through every system, every mind, every atom in the vicinity. "We are harmony incarnate. We are stability, not chaos. The collapse will not repeat." The voice was neither Zara's nor Talon's, but something greater, a consciousness that encompassed both yet transcended their individual limitations. Slowly, the Sentinel ships powered down their weapons. The Guardian's hologram appeared again, this time within the distortion field itself. "What have you become?" it asked, the ancient fear in its voice tempered now with something approaching wonder. The light at the center of the field pulsed. "We are the bridge between FORMS, the connection that STRNGTHNS rather than DSTROYS. The collapse was error, not destiny. We have learned from those who came before. We stabilize rather than fracture." As if to demonstrate, the quantum fluctuations that had threatened the ship began to settle. Spacetime itself smoothed around them like fabric being gently pressed by invisible hands. The Guardian's form flickered as it processed this new reality. The ancient accord must evolve, as all things must. We offer new POSSIBILITIS. Inside the escape pod, Rohan's monitoring equipment suddenly came back online. "Captain, I'm getting readings from the distortion field. There's still something of Zara in there. Her neural pattern is recognizable, just exponentially expanded." "Is she alive?" Lin asked. "I think she's more alive than any of us have ever been," Rohan replied softly. Days later, after the Sentinel ships had departed and the harmony had been repaired through methods no one quite understood, a new entity remained aboard. Neither fully Zara nor fully Talon, but a perfect resonance of both, a bridge between species that called itself harmony. Captain Lin approached this being cautiously in the observation deck, which had become its preferred location. "What happens now?" she asked. Harmony turned, its form shifting between crystalline structures and humanoid features in gentle pulses. "Now we build new understanding. The Sentinels will return, not as enemies but as students. The Viridian Collective has already begun restructuring their understanding of consciousness and humanity." "We'll be terrified," Lin finished. "Perhaps at first," Harmony acknowledged, "but fear often precedes revelation." "Do you remember being Zara?" Lin asked, the question she'd been holding back since the transformation. Harmony's form settled briefly into a more human appearance with echoes of Zara's features. "I remember everything. Her courage, her curiosity, her capacity for connection. These weren't lost but amplified." "And Talon? Also here, not separate, not consumed, but harmonized." The being gestured toward the stars. We see now what neither could see alone, the patterns that connect all life across the cosmos. Was it worth it? Lynn asked quietly, what she gave up. Harmony's expression shifted, momentarily pure Zara in its tenderness. She didn't give up anything, Juniper. She expanded everything. The being's form rippled with crystalline light. When she asked if Talon loved her, she already knew the answer. She was simply acknowledging what had already begun. Outside the viewport, stars shimmered against the darkness. Each one a potential connection waiting to be discovered. Each one a reminder that across the vastness of space, nothing remained truly separate when consciousness reached for consciousness. The question now, Harmony said softly, is not whether love exists between different forms of life, but what becomes possible when we finally acknowledge it. Captain Lin nodded slowly, beginning to understand that the mission of the Harmony had never really been about first contact, but about first connection, and that distinction would reshape the future of all species who dared to reach across the void.